looking into the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock right now, where NASA astronaut Christina Cook and Luca Parmitano of the European Space Agency are fixing the safer backpack onto Nick Hague's suit.
An airlock on 1 for comm and Vox.
Go ahead, Christina.
Josh, we are having one of the crew members seems to be breaking Vox continuously. We've attempted a lot of different head positions and mic positions as able, and we aren't able to eliminate the breaking of Vox. Did you guys have any other advice, or are there any settings that we or you could change?
So, Christina, which of the two suits is it, and do you guys think it's going to be an impact to a successful EVA?
We are not able to determine which suit it is because we aren't able to make it go away with any kind of head movement. It would be an impact if it were to continue. We would hope that it would resolve when we get to 4-3 ops. But again, we can deal with it for now, maybe with just turning down the EV's volume, and then if we see that it resolves, we can have them turn it back up.
Christina, we're okay with the volume for right now, and then can you guys just verify for us that the comm caps aren't loose and the mic boom position looks good?
Affirmative. The comm caps are not loose. Mic boom positions both look good.
And Christina, just trying to make sure we're all on the same page, do you guys think that it's going to be an impact to the EVA as in we can't communicate successfully, or is it just going to be an annoyance we have to deal with?
Moments ago, you heard communications between NASA astronaut Christina Cook, who you see on the left side of your view right now. She's working through procedures with Capcoms here on the ground in Mission Control Houston. We'll stand by to see how things proceed from here.
This is Christina back with you on one with an update on our comm situation. We do think we've isolated the breaking of VOX constantly to EV2 suit. We were able to find a head position that causes it to stop breaking VOX. If this situation were to continue after we depress, we do think it would be an impact to the EVA in terms of convenience, but that we could continue. They were able to find a volume setting that was comfortable during the breaking of the VOX, but that also allowed them to hear each other and me.
Christina, thanks for the information. We were just talking it down here. We're going to go ahead and press towards depress, and we'll see how things look at 4.3.
Copy and concur.
The crews will continue to work through procedures from here. Looks like Nick Hague's safer backpack is almost finished being installed, and next will be Andrew Morgan's. Back here in Mission Control Houston, the flight control teams are under the direction of lead flight director Scott Stover as the crews continue preparations before moving through the hatchway into the crew lock section of the dual compartment Quest airlock. The voice you'll hear from now through pre-hatch open preparations before the crew places their suits on internal battery power will be Capcom Josh Matthew. He's in the middle of your screen right now in the white shirt. And the ground intravehicular communicator, or ground IV today, is veteran astronaut Mike Barrett. You'll hear his voice once the crew makes their way outside the Quest airlock, and he'll continue to work through the timeline procedures with Hague and Morgan for the duration of the 218th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance. Crews here in Mission Control Houston are conducting a go, no-go poll for depressurization. The countdown clock here in Mission Control has a go for depress about 6.5 minutes from now. And if you're just joining us, the crews have already started the necessary work to fix the simplified aid for EVA rescue, or SAFER by the acronym, on the back of Hague and Morgan's suits. Hague's has already been fixed to his suit, and now Morgan will begin going through the procedures with Christina Cook to get that simplified aid for EVA rescue installed. Again, teams here in Mission Control Houston are conducting a final go, no-go poll with all of the flight controllers for a go for depressurization about 4 minutes from now. The extravehicular mobility units, or EMUs, are the suits you see Hague and Morgan in now, and these suits essentially serve as an independent life support system, providing environmental protection, mobility, and communications for the crew members during their spacewalk. The spacewalk today marks the 218th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance, and the 5th from the station this year, including 4 U.S. spacewalks and 1 Russian. This will be the 3rd spacewalk in Hague's career. His 2 previous spacewalks bring his total EVA time to 13 hours and 24 minutes as he heads into his 3rd today. And this will be a career first spacewalk for Drew Morgan after arriving at the station on Saturday, July 20th. Ground teams here in Mission Control Houston confirming that they are a go for depressurization. So once Morgan moves through the hatchway into the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, they will be able to start that depressurization. Again, we just received confirmation from ground controllers here in Mission Control Houston that the teams here are a go for depressurization. So once Hague and Morgan are inside of the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, they'll be able to begin depressurization. There will be a period of depressurization of the crew lock from its current 14.7 pounds per square inch all the way down to vacuum. And final communications between Mission Control Houston and final checks of the spacewalker suits will be conducted, and the crew will then be given the go to place their suits on internal battery power, which will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. Christina Cook now helping move Hague and Morgan through the hatchway into the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, where depressurization will begin.
And concur.
The sequence of events now calls for NASA astronaut Christina Cook to close the hatch, which will isolate Hague and Morgan in the crew lock section. Again, once the crew gets the crew has already gotten the go from teams here in Mission Control Houston, but there will be a period of depressurization once that hatch is closed, where the crew lock will go from its current 14.7 pounds per square inch all the way down to vacuum. And there will be some final checks of the spacewalkers' suits and some final communications between Mission Control Houston before the crew will then be given a go to place their suits on internal battery power, which will mark the official start of today's spacewalk. And Christina Cook is now in the process of closing the hatch between the equipment lock and the crew lock. Once that hatch is officially closed, Hague and Morgan will be isolated before their final minutes of preparations before they begin the 218th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance. And the hatch has been confirmed closed.
Station meter on 1, step 70 and 71 are complete.
Okay, copy. We'll put step 72 in work. For the EV crew, you guys are going to be hot mic'd on Space to Ground 1 as we put that in work. And for you, Luca, Huntsville is looking for you to start your experiment. And that'll be on Space to Ground 4.
Copy all, Josh. And Josh, I'm with you on Space to Ground 1. EV crew copies the comm config change. They will be hot mic from here forward. An airlock on 1. Do I understand you all are putting step 72 in work?
Yes, Christina, we're putting step 72 in work. We'll let you know when it's complete.
Copy all.
The hatch was confirmed closed at 6:48 a.m. Central Time. Now that the hatch is closed, they'll ready the crew lock for lock depress.
And Airlock Houston, step 72 complete. You're go in step 73, and we can hear the EV crew members just fine.
Copy that.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, guys.
And Drew, for you on the UIA, check that the depress pump power switch is off, OFF.
Depress pump power switch is off, OFF.
Check the depress pump enable LED is on, ON.
Enable light is on, ON.
Copy.
And you're
Houston
going step
airlock on
76.
1, looking for your go in step 76.
You guys are going 76.
See that. Moving over to the crew lock, depress, repress cue card. And crew lock depress. Drew, action, switch the depress pump power to on, ON.
Depress pump power switch is on, ON.
Copy, we're waiting 10 seconds. Drew, you can take the depress pump man ISO valve open. Expect alert tone.
Depress pump man ISO valve open.
Copy. For both EV crew members, monitor your suit P gauge is less than 5.5. If you see it higher than 5.5, please verbalize that, and Drew, you'll be stopping the depress in that case.
1 copy. 2 copies.
Copy. And Drew will take reports of PSIs on the half PSI.
Copy. That's airlock pressure passing 13.5.
And the depressurization of the crew lock section of Quest is officially underway.
13.0.
Copy 13.
Decimal 5.
Again, the depressurization of the crew lock will take it from its current 14.7 pounds per square inch all the way down to vacuum. The depressurization of the crew lock section of Quest will be done in a two-stage fashion. First, they'll take the crew lock down to 5 pounds per square inch of pressure. They'll pause to do a system check, then they'll resume depressurization all the way down to 0. Once it reaches vacuum, the two spacewalkers, Nick Hague and Andrew Morgan, will conduct suit checks, communications checks with Mission Control here in Houston, before they place their suits on internal battery power to mark the official start time for today's spacewalk. Now down from 14.7 pounds to 11, and that's pounds per square inch of pressure.
Decimal 5.
And they have reached the suit check at 5 pounds per square inch.
See 10 PSI.
And just more, remember to drink a little bit out of your drink bag so it doesn't sit at you.
Copy 9 PSI.
The crew lock is now down to 9 psi, which is pounds per square inch. Again, once the crew lock reaches 5 pounds per square inch, they'll pause to do system checks, then they'll resume the depressurization all the way down to vacuum.
we had checked the configuration of the cable against the aft side of the airlock, and it was good. I do see that the wire tie caddy that was on the large small is not behind that bungee, just for your information. It's not going to be a problem.
Okay, copy.
Copy 8 PSI. And for both EV crew, FYI, when the crew lock gets to 6.0 PSI, you can expect an alert tone.
1 copy. 2 copies. Point 5.
Getting a view now of the International Docking Adapter 3 at its surface-to-surface contact with Pressurized Mating Adapter 3, as Andrew Morgan and Nick Hague are in the crew lock section of the Quest airlock, as it is going through depressurization right now.
Point 0.
B7.0 PSI.
Now down to 7 pounds per square inch of pressure.
6.5.
Copy 6.5. And Drew, for your information, big picture, when we get to 5.0 PSI, at that point, you'll be taking the depress bump man ISO valve closed, and we'll be doing a leak check. I'll let you know when that needs to happen.
Copy that.
Christina Cook informing the crew they'll stop at 5 pounds per square inch to do some leak checks on the suits. After everything checks out, they'll resume depressurization all the way down to 0. Now below 6 pounds per square inch.
Point 0.
Copy.
That's 5.5.
Copy 5.5.
And the crew is approaching 5 psi.
We're showing 5.0 psi at this time. Action, depress pump by an ISO valve, closed. EV, expect alert tone.
Depress pump man, ISO valve closed.
Copy. For both of you, switch your status until you see leak check question mark displayed, and then give it a long yes and follow displayed instructions.
1 copy. 2 copies.
Again, the crew has paused at 5 pounds per square inch to do a leak check of their suits. They'll resume the depressurization here momentarily.
If you all could report your times remaining on your DCM.
Copy. 1, 25 seconds.
Copy.
2, 25 seconds.
Copy.
Seconds remaining for 2. EV2 leak check complete.
Copy.
Setting to EVA.
Copy, you're going to EVA.
Ground is reporting 2 good leak checks. We're in a short handover period between satellites right now, but should be regaining communications here shortly.
EVA.
1.
2's in EVA.
Copy 2. True. Action, depress pump and ISO valve, open.
Copy. Press pump man ISO valve open.
Copy, and I'm taking the emergency MPEV to open.
And depress has been resumed.
Emergency MPEV open. Both of you, monitor your suit pressure gauge, stays below 5.5, and let us know if you see it above 5.5, and we would stop the depress.
1 copy. 2 copies.
And we will continue in this configuration until we are at 2 psi.
Copy. Passing 4.5.
Copy, 4.5.
Point 0. Point 5.
Copy, 3.5.
You trying to move to? Nowhere, just switching hands. Okay. You can get by without hanging on to anything. 3.0. Save the string.
Copy 3.0.
The crew lock is now down to less than 3 pounds per square inch of pressure.
Point 5.
Copy 2.5.
Point 1.
Copy 2.1.
Point 0.
Copy 2.0. You can take the depress pump man ISO valve closed.
Yes. Depress pump man ISO valve closed.
Copy. Action switch depress pump power to off. OFF.
Depress pump power off. OFF.
Copy. At this point, we will have you all report your initial tether configuration for egress, and Houston is listening.
Okay, Samora, it's getting a good position. For us, this is going to take a while for us to depress all the way down. Copy, let's see here. Okay, so I can see from the airlock D-ring extender up to you, and I've got your entire safety pack in view. I'm going to start working up that chain. How does that sound? Yep, that sounds good. Okay, so from the airlock D-ring extender, I've got your right waist tether, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Small hook goes to your right D-ring extender, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. I've got the red hook. Red hook, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Your red reel is unlocked. Green hook is on the red reel. It is unlocked. Yellow hook is on the green reel. Gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Let's see, your green reel anchor hook, gate closed, slider lock, black on black. Connected to my right waist tether. That large hook is gate closed, slider lock, black on black. That comes back to my right D-ring extender. Small hook is gate closed, slider lock, black on black. I agree with all. I was able to put eyes on it. We call both all reels unlocked. Both reels are unlocked. I think I missed the green one, and it is unlocked. I can see both unlocked. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go over my safety tether pack. So, my red hook is gate closed, slider lock, black on black. My right D-ring extender. Red reel is an unlock. Green hook is unlocked to the red reel. Yellow hook is locked, gate closed, slider lock, black on black to the green reel. The green reel is an unlock, and the anchor hook is, the green reel is unlocked and on my mini workstation. I show us in a good config. I agree.
And we copied all.
And Station Houston for EVA, good morning, guys. This is your ground IV for comm check.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Nick, how you doing?
Morning. Great to hear your voice. I'm just reporting that we did copy your Tether config. It sounds great, and I will await the handover from Christina.
Hey, awesome. Talk to you soon. And Mike, the comm check from Drew. Good morning.
Loud and clear. Docs rock.
All right, I got you loud and clear as well, and I agree. I've had some medical training.
Every little bit counts.
And you just heard from the ground IV, or ground intervehicular communicator, which was Mike Barrett. You'll hear his voice from here on out, and he'll be running through procedures with Hague and Morgan for the duration of this spacewalk today.
And for the EV crew, it looks like we are continuing our depress. I'm showing us right around 1.5 at this point, and we'll be looking for the confirmation from Nick when we get there that the EV hatch is showing a delta P of 0.5 or less.
Yep, copy all, Nana. I'm showing us a touch over 1.
Copy. And it looks like you guys will be heading out in a daylight pass.
All right, copy that.
You just heard Christina Cook reference the crew stepping out during a daylight pass. Because the space station orbits the Earth about 16 times per day, there are points throughout the spacewalk when the astronauts are in direct light of the sun, and other times when they're working in complete darkness. The cooling and thermal units inside their suits help regulate their temperatures as environment fluctuates from one extreme to the other.
1.0. The 1 on the gauge.
Do both, and we're showing the same out here.
The airlock is down to less than 1 psi.
Smart, so you know position-wise, I think your feet are going to be okay where they're at. Just above your heels is that the cable reel on the side wall. Copy. My head's up against the hatch, so I could turn to the side a little bit if I got to get out of the way. Yeah, I think the thing that I'm going to need to come your way just a touch. Say again? I'm going to need to come your way just a touch to get the hatch open. Toward me? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Maybe a foot or so, so we may have to stand that bag up on end so I get clearance. Showing 0.8 on the gauge for everybody.
Copy, 0.8.
I think if I keep my feet low, that's plenty of room. I can do it from there. Okay, I have a hand on it. Okay. A few more minutes, so don't strain yourself. Know where we need to get when we want to open it.
Getting a few views now of the International Docking Adapter 3 and its surface-to-surface contact. You can see on the bottom left of your screen, the IDA-3 is that white module at the bottom. Another view outside the International Space Station now, with a view of the International Docking Adapter 3 that is seated against the pressurized Mating Adapter 3, a former docking port for space shuttles during the shuttle era. The IDA is still in the grasp of the Special Purpose Dexterous Manipulator, or Dexter, which is an extension to the Canadarm2 robotic arm. The IDA having been extracted from the trunk of Dragon 2 days ago and maneuvered into its pre-install position where you see it now. Earlier this morning, robotics ground controllers here in Mission Control Houston pushed the IDA into a seated position, making surface-to-surface contact with PMA-3.
About 0.6 on the gauge. Copy.
On the bottom left of your screen, we have a view of spacewalk officer for today's spacewalk, Alex Kanellakos. Once Hague and Morgan make their way to the pressurized Mating Adapter 3 at the bottom of your screen now to begin the installation of the International Docking Adapter 3 to PMA-3, they will begin attaching cables between IDA-3 and PMA-3, which will provide power and data connections. Once those cables have been routed, Christina Cook, working from a control panel inside the Harmony module, will send commands to close the hooks that will form a hard mate between IDA and PMA. Once the first gang of hooks are closed, the crew will then begin routing additional cables, which will activate the zenith portion of IDA, making IDA-3 accessible to future visiting vehicles. Approaching 0.5 psi.
Touch under 0.6. Almost there. Copy.
Ground controllers here in Mission Control Houston reporting they are ready for hatch open.
Nick, we are showing out here that we are within the range of 0.5. If you concur from the gauge on the hatch, you have a go to open and stow the EV hatch.
Okay, copy. Not the most precise gauge. Looks like 0.5.
Copy.
The crew lock section of Quest just about down to vacuum now. And as you can see in the middle of your screen, the thermal cover has been opened.
I can confirm it's daytime outside. I think we're safer to safer. Rotate a little bit to your side just to... Yep. Better. If you can try to put your safer to the wall. The wall, right? Yeah.
And just a little bit more, Drew, and you guys will be deconflicted. Two more inches.
Yeah, get the hatch is latched open. Thermal cover is open.
And Nick, do I copy that the EV hatch is stowed?
It is in the stowed config.
Copy. I'm taking the emergency MPEV closed. Emergency MPEV is closed. And with that, gentlemen, I will hand you over to Mike. Have a great time outside.
Thanks, Nana. Appreciate all your work this morning getting us out the hatch. That's the same to Luca. Awesome job.
It was our privilege. We'll see you guys in a few hours.
And Station Houston for EVA, again, thanks Nana and Luca for getting the boys ready to go out. And if you guys are ready, we'll start down the post-depress checklist, starting with EV1. Stagger the switch throws 3, please. Take power to bat and expect a warning tone.
EV1's in bat. In bat.
Copy for EV1 and 2, and check your display switches are functional.
Good on 1. Good on 2.
Okay, for EV2, Drew, you can take the power switch for EV1 and 2, 2 of those switches to off, and verify 4 LEDs out.
Copy that. E1 power off. E2 power off.
All right, if you can verify 4 LEDs are out on the UIA.
All 4 LEDs are out.
Very good. And for both of you, you can disconnect your SCUs from the DCMs, install the DCM cover, and stow the SCUs in their pouches.
Copies and work.
And Nick Hague and Andrew Morgan's suits are now on internal battery power, officially marking the start of today's spacewalk at 7:27 a.m. Central Time as the International Space Station flew 264 statute miles over the Atlantic Ocean. Spacecraft communicator Mike Barrett going through the final steps with Hague and Morgan before they make their way outside the Quest airlock. Hague will be the first out, followed a few minutes later by Morgan.
Mike, SCU is disconnected, stowed in its pouch, DCM covers in place.
Okay, we copy that for EV1.
My SCU is also, and for EV2, my SCU is also removed, installed in the cover, and the DCM cover is in place.
Okay, we copy for both. For Drew, if you could verify the depress pump manual ISO valve is closed.
Press pump man ISO valve is closed.
Okay, we copy for EV1 and 2. Take your temp control valve to max hot.
Work. One's in max hot, two's in max hot.
Copy for both, and for both check, DCM is blank and bite is off.
Blank, bite off. Two blank. DCM's blank, bite is off.
Okay, copy for that, and for both 1 and 2, switch water to on.
On, water on. 2, water on.
And again, if you could check your DCM is blank and bite off after that switch throw.
1 blank, bite off. 2 blank, bite off.
Copy for both, and for both, take temp control valve to your desired position.
1 copies, inward. Okay, I'm going to stop right around 4. Okay, I'm putting in 6 for now. Copy. We'll be translating out and into a warm spot.
Okay, we copy temp controls for both, and for both, we'll take a suit gauge pressure.
1, 4.2. For EV2, 4.2.
Okay, we copy. You are coming into a daylight pass, just about to cross over the Mediterranean.
Copy. Copy, EV2 visors down.
Okay, with all that, then you guys are go for egress. We see the hatch and thermal cover are open, and for Nick, you go to attach EV1 safety tether, yours to the aft airlock tether point.
Inward. We're going to come back to you to get my head down a little bit, okay? Which direction you will be back? Yeah, we're the safer to safer thing, so if you can raise your head back a little bit, and that'll shorten you lengthwise, and it'll pull you to the port. Go. Better? Yeah, I think I can make that work. Okay, can you cheat any further to the port? Your feet are in the hatch. That'll work.
And we're getting our first view now of Nick Hague moving just outside the hatchway of the Quest airlock.
And Mike, I have my anchor tug. Look, gate closed, slider lock black on black to the airlock aft D-ring.
Okay, we copy that, and you can relocate Drew's safety tether anchor to the forward airlock tether point. And Drew, while he's doing that, if you want to get the large ORU bag kind of ready to go to pass out.
Copy that.
And just a reminder, Drew, that the large small ret stays with that ORU bag.
Roger that.
Again, getting our first view now of Nick Hague moving just outside the hatchway of the Quest airlock. You'll hear Capcom Mike Barrett referring to the spacewalkers today as EV1 and EV2. Hague is EV1 today, or extravehicular crew member number 1, bearing the red stripes.
Gate closed, slider lock black on the forward airlock D-ring.
And Andrew Morgan, who is still inside the Quest airlock, will be EV2, wearing the suit with no stripes.
All right, we copy Nick. With that, we can give EV2 a go to release his waist tether from the internal airlock D-ring.
Copy that, Mike.
And Nick, next for you would be to stow the NZGL insulator sleeve on the WIFX handrail. That's WIF 11 there on the equipment lot.
Good work, Mike. Okay, Mike, I've got the large ORU bag positioned over the hatch, and my right waist tether has now removed from the airlock D-ring extender.
Okay, we copy that, Drew, and you can check that your reels are still unlocked for us.
Copy that. I see that the red reel is an unlock, and the green rail is also an unlock.
All right, we copy for both, and for Nick, next step for you will be to receive that large ORU bag and get onto your BRT.
Understand, Mike. My light cover is stowed on the WIF extender and WIF 11.
We copy. Well done.
As the ground IV Mike Barrett just mentioned, Nick Hague will now receive a bag of equipment from Andrew Morgan, who is still inside the crew lock of Quest. Morgan will be joining Hague outside the hatchway just moments from now.
Yeah, see, putting down a local. My BRT out. Okay, I've got a red on it. You're good for the release of the large hook. Okay, so you got a red on it, and the large small from the airlock is coming out to you. Here it is. Okay. Okay. stand by. I'm going to get out of your way so that you can get out here. Copy. Okay, I'm ready for you to come out. Big copy.
Nick has received the bag from Andrew Morgan and is ready for him to go ahead and step outside the airlock now. Once Morgan has joined Hague outside, they will take inventory of all of their equipment before they make their way over to retrieve a pair of ingress aids and portable foot restraints that they will fix to PMA-3 at their respective work sites to begin the process of hooking up connectors and tethers between the International Docking Adapter 3 and PMA-3, which will serve as the precursor for a gang of hooks to be driven to form a hard mate between the IDA-3 and PMA-3.
Your safety tether out of the way of the thermal cover, and that closed up. Okay, got my local down. Thermal cover is closed, Mike.
Okay, we copy. Thermal cover closed, and whenever you two are in a good position, you can start the buddy checks.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start with you. Close to me. I'm going to confirm that the safer handle's down. Okay, and I can see, I already had a look at yours as well. Okay. Your handle closed was a little bit up. It's now in a good position. Bring your left hip toward me because yours is up. There. I think we want it to be in down position. Yeah. And it is now completely down. Okay. All right, so I'll let you start from the top on me. Sounds good. Hey, I see WVS is on, good green light. Your helmet lights are off at this time. We've got 1, 2, and for a third, I see 3 tabs up. 2 good safer handles. Safety tether, and a good config back to here. Your HAP. HAP is dry. Okay.
Nick Hague on the left as EV1 and Andrew Morgan on the right as EV2 as they are checking each other's tethers before they make the move over to their work site on PMA-3.
And see what safer handles are down. Yeah, let's put one more hand on the left safer handle again because the ORU bag I think is what's bumping it. Okay, and I can reposition that so it's a little bit further up and away. Yeah, I think that'll be better. Okay. Bring it back over because it made one small tap on it. Okay. Here you go.
Прямо без замечаний.
Okay, that safer handle's down, and then your tabs, I can see all 3 tabs are up. So over to you for HAP and gloves. Okay, I've got a good HAP. It's dry. Gloves. That's what I saw inside when I checked them. Good baseline. Like I show us buddy checks complete. Let me just have a look at your tether too there. I see them both are locked and you have nice everything looks good and deconflicted. Okay.
Okay, we copy good buddy checks and good glove and HAP checks, and we'll have you guys just take a break now. We're going to read the cautions to you. I'll remind you of certain things as you get a bit closer to the work site, but just some things to avoid contact with. First, the PMA-3 and IDA reflectors, the Z93 paint on the zenith side of the peripheral docking target, the PMA-3 CBM pedals, the grapple fixture target pin and grapple shaft, the exposed bolts of the PMA umbilical launch restraint, the lab UHF and ETVCG and the Node 2 WETA, and forward external wireless cameras. You can translate on the base of the EWC boom in the lower half of the handrails if you need to. In general, I'll remind you this as well, avoid imparting any loads into the zenith direction into the IDA until the hooks are engaged. And about 10 seconds to handover.
Copy. Can we copy everything up to this point?
And EV1,
copy as well, Mike.
EV1, if we get you your go to translate to ESP2.
In work.
Back here in Mission Control Houston, control teams are under the direction of Lead Flight Director Scott Stover.
And, for EV2, first of all, Drew, welcome outside. This will be an exciting EVA for your first one. And you're going to perform some...
Scott Stover on the bottom right-hand side of your screen in the black jacket.
...degree of freedom that you'd like.
Copy that, Mike.
And the ground IV or intravehicular communicator, who you'll hear back and forth between communications with the crew outside the station, is Mike Barrett. Again, you'll hear his voice as crews go through procedures today during the 218th spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance. And another notable flight controller here in Mission Control Houston today is the lead spacewalk officer for today's spacewalk, Alex Kanellakos.
I'm at the APFR with 5, going for the ingress aid.
Okay, great, and we do have a good view of you.
Mike, I'm still under the airlock toolboxes here, and on my right index finger glove, the first panel of RTV is the flap, and I can clearly see RTV underneath.
Okay.
It's, that's the panel not at the pad of the finger, but the second panel in from the tip on the right index.
And we're getting our first view now from a helmet camera, that of EV1 Nick Hague. He's wearing helmet camera number 11 today, and that's the view we're seeing right now.
Yep, roger that. And with that, Mike, I think I'm ready to start the translation now.
Okay, we copy then. You're go to translate up the sea to spur, and you're headed to the starboard sea to cart, and we'll call your WIF 5 for the APFR once you get there. Just a reminder, do not fair lead your tether as you translate.
Copy. It'll be a straight shot, no fair lead.
Good words.
And Mike, I've got a red on the ingress aid. Ingress aid is stood behind my mini workstation.
Okay, we copy that. Great work, Nick. And you go to translate to the PMA3 to install that ingress aid. You'll go along the lab starboard side gap spanners, and you'll be looking for the Node 2 circumferential handrail for dropping your fair lead.
Copy that.
Another view from helmet camera number 11, which you can see faint at the bottom right side of your screen. Again, helmet camera number 11 is that of EV1 Nick Hague, bearing the red stripes today.
Check at our buddy check. It was intact. So it was somewhere there, just right there while I was on the handrail.
Okay, we copy that. With your description, I think we're still good to continue, but again, we'll keep a close eye on.
Yep, roger. Right below you, Drew. All right, looking back, and Tether's stringing out nicely. See yours as well. Copy. Top of the Cedar Spur.
Okay, we copy, Drew.
Might come at the forward end of the lab. Listen over to note 2.
All right, we copy, and you'll be looking for handrail 375, and that's a little bit nadir of your path, and that'll be your fair lead handrail.
And tally ho. Cedar Cart, EV2.
Okay, we copy, and you'll be looking for the APFR and WIF 5. And just a reminder, Drew, your first action is going to be to get a wire tie around the ingress aid locking collar.
Copy that. Mike, adjustable fairly down on 0375.
Okay, we see that. With that, you can translate up to PMA 3, and again, watch out for the CBM pedals as you're heading up there.
Copy all.
Moments ago, you heard spacewalk communicator Mike Barrett use the acronym APFR, which stands for the Articulating Portable Foot Restraint that the crew will be using today to restrain their feet at their respective work sites.
It's going to be that APFR to install the ingress aid into the APFR and WIF 4 up there.
Copy. I've got a four-man spare lead around that grapple pin. On the translation path.
Okay, we see it. We like it.
And And I'm passing the cable bundle, Drew, for W2288, the first one you go after. Yeah, and, yeah, it's still in good condition. All the labeling is faded off of the EVA tape, so it's not legible. But there is still some Sharpie marks on the cable itself that you can read, but it's bundled up nicely. Copy.
Okay, we copy that, and that's expected. And for 2, Drew, we see you retrieving the wire tie. Just to note that we'll want a really good tight wind once around there below the locking collar with 3 half twists, and as tight a wind and no slack in the wire tie as you can.
Roger that. I'm at the APFR mic.
Copy, Nick.
Mike, this was a short off of my BRT.
Okay, we copy.
The wire tie is in place.
Okay, the wire tie looks good. That ain't going nowhere. So you're going to retrieve the APFR from the seat of cart and stow on your BRT.
Copy. And Mike, I've got the ingress aid installed into the APFR, black on black to full test.
All right, we copy that and we see it. And with that, Nick, you can translate to the PMA3 forward starboard side to temp stow the large ORU bag. And you'll be looking for handrail 1600. That'll be the bottom part of the bag, and there'll be 2 vertical handrails above it, 1616, 1617, to attach the lid straps to. And we can remind you of those once you get there if you need that.
Good. Will do.
On the left side of your screen right now is Andrew Morgan, or EV2, who is retrieving his foot restraint and ingress aid. He will then join EV1, Nick Hague, on the forward part of the vehicle to set up his foot restraint on PMA3.
On sunset. They have the APFR on my BRT.
Okay, we see that when you get in a good config to translate, a reminder that as you get clear of the CETA cart, we'll want a couple of good taps on the CETA cart brake.
Copy that. More for this translation path. You come around on the starboard side of MA3. The thing that surprised me is just how far out the grapple fin protrudes out from PMA3. Otherwise, it's not too difficult just to go in between Columbus and Node 2. Okay.
Okay, we copy that. Those are good words. And just a reminder, as you set up your office there with the large ORU bag, be sure and leave with 5 clear.
Okay, Mike. Get the large ORU down. Large hook that we pulled from the airlock is now on handrail 1600.
And we copy.
Good, 2 good pushes on the cart brake.
All right, we copy that. And with that, Drew, you can translate down to PMA3. You'll be dropping a green hook on a Node 2 handrail. That'll be 331. We'll let you know that again when you get there. And just watch out for the WETA as you translate past it.
Copy that.
And for both, about a minute and a half to sunset.
Copy all, Mike.
Andrew Morgan, now in the center of your screen, you can see floating above him is the APFR, which is the acronym that you'll hear frequently today, which is the Articulating Portable Foot Restraint. And
Drew, as you're heading down towards the lab, just verify your tether from the airlock is not caught on the lab struts and gives you a good straight path from the airlock to your green hook location.
those APFRs will be hooked up to an interface point on the Harmony module at the worksite, where they will plant their feet for stability while they are conducting their procedures today.
Mike, yard sails deployed, and the 5 is clear.
All right, we see that. Great work. And your next step is to drop down and drop your green hook on PMA2. Again, we'd like you to translate zenith of the Node 2 EWC boom. There's a cable there. It's Whiskey 2250. It's coiled near the boom, and we'll want to be sure that that's inside of your tether as you translate down there. We'll be retrieving that cable eventually.
Right, understand. That's a good call, because the pedals have snagged onto my tether and pulled them in tight to PMA. So I'll fix that.
As you can see now, the space station is flying through an orbital nighttime because the space station orbits the Earth about 16 times per day. There are points throughout the spacewalk when the astronauts are in direct light and other times when they're working in complete darkness, as they are now.
To attach your green hook.
Copy. I have 331 right here. Mike, can you say the number of that cable I'm supposed to stay clear of?
That is 2250, Whiskey 2250. And Nick, you'll be looking for handrail 409 to drop your green hook, and just to let you both know, we're about 30 seconds from a handover.
Copy, Mike, 409. And Mike, my green hook's down on 0331.
All right, we see that, Drew. Great work, and you can proceed now to the PMA port side. You're looking for WIF 1, and you'll put your APFR there with a clocking of 6.
Copy, clocking 6.
Andrew Morgan now moving to install his foot restraint on PMA 3 to begin work.
I'm quite sure which cable was which. And 2250 tally. It's got a part number that is ending in 022250. The end has a Y on it with the 2 connectors like we expect.
Okay, that's great, great identification. And again, that will eventually route to the aft panel, so we need to keep that clear.
Mike, with 01 in sight.
Okay, we copy.
And for reference, Mike, so you can talk through onto it later, it's the bundle that's closest to the 2 connectors that connect into the zenith of node 2. I guess it's the portmost bundle.
Okay, we copy that. And for Drew, just for burning in your cartridges, we'd like you to pause once you get to the APFR and just take a quick breather.
Copy. Do you want me to go ahead with the install and then?
Negative. We'll just have you sit there and pause before the install.
Copy. I think I'm at 409 working my green hook.
Copy for Nick.
Meantime, Mike, I can take a look at that. That flap is still there. It's about the same as it was. Otherwise, maybe the rest of the gloves look great.
Okay, we copy. We can see it, and we're good to continue, Drew. And apparently, this little flap in particular is not infrequently seen. So again, we'll just keep an eye on it with the connectors. And Nick, just for next step, once you get your green hook dropped, you'll be heading back to the APFR to get a wire tie around the ingress aid.
Copy, Mike. In work. Green hook's on 409.
All right, we see that.
And if you're just tuning in, we're now about 45 minutes into today's spacewalk. The two spacewalkers today, Nick Hague in his third spacewalk and Andrew Morgan conducting his career first spacewalk today to install the International Docking Adapter 3 to Pressurized Mating Adapter 3, providing a second port for the future arrival of commercial crew vehicles.
And for EVA for Drew, just one reminder that the PDT is just above your right shoulder, and we'd like to be careful not to bump that if we don't need to. And you are go to install the APFR, again, a clocking of 6, and once you get it installed, we'll give you further settings.
Okay, copy. A clocking of 6, and I see the PDT just above my right shoulder.
Okie doke.
Getting a view now from the back of Andrew Morgan, or EV2, who just received a go to install his foot restraint at his respective worksite.
All right, we copy that, Drew.
Black on black.
Okay, your further settings are Tango Tango Delta 1.
Copy. Tango Tango Delta 1.
And Nick, just for next step, once you get that locking collar wire tied, it'll be to move the APFR from WIF 4 to WIF 5.
Understand. Thanks.
Another acronym you'll hear throughout the spacewalk today is WIF, or otherwise known as Worksite Interface. A worksite interface is an interface providing a means to attach certain spacewalk tools to a structure.
We're installed on the ingress aid, Mike.
Okay, we see it and it looks good to us.
How's it going over there, S'more? I'm trying to yaw the PFR around, but I see that yaw may interfere with the handrail here unless I go around the other direction. Understand.
And for Nick, your install clocking is 6, and once you get there, I'll give you further settings.
Mike, I think I'm going to have to pitch it away to get it in that yaw setting.
And EV2, you must be clairvoyant. That's what we were thinking on the ground. So you're go to do that, get that pitch setting, and then we'll come back to the yaw.
I know this is a push-in knob.
And for EV2, was that a question for us?
No, I'm speaking out loud. I know it's a push-in. There you go. Got to get it past that.
No worries. This can be a little difficult.
Hey, Mike, I've got the APFR installed. Back on black. Good pull test and twist test.
All right, we copy, Nick. Further settings are Tango Tango Delta 12.
Copy. Tango Tango Delta 12 is set.
All right, with that, you can extend the APFR ingress aid. And just a note, we're going to defer the PWC, the portable wireless camera replacement, for just now. It won't help us too much on the aft panel anyway.
Understand?
And for next steps, Nick, once you get the APFR ingress aid extended, you go to deploy your cap keeper from the large ORU bag.
Okay. Copy that. Work. Okay, Mike, I got X Tango Tango Delta 1.
Okay, we copy. Good work, Drew. And your next step will be to translate to the forward IDA connector panel, and you'll be attaching your adjustable tether from the IDA3 tether point down to the PMA3 handrail 1602. We'll give you reminders as you need it, but just one thing right off, we're going to take the slack out, but no cinching force.
Slack out, but no cinching. Copy. My cap keeper is deployed.
Okay.
It's on handrail 1404.
All right, brilliant. And just verify that you have the RET is still attached to the large ORU bag.
Affirmative.
Okay, with that, you can translate to the aft IDA connector panel, and your next step will be to attach your daisy-chained adjustables from the IDA 3 tether point down to your handrail 1614, the zenith stanchion of that.
Copy.
And same reminder, we'll want the slack out, but no cinching force.
Okay, firm. Just a reminder, I caught myself thinking about trying to grab one of those shiny handrails on the IDA. Roger.
Yeah, they're pretty tempting, but we want to avoid imparting any forces there.
Understand.
Another acronym you'll hear throughout the spacewalk today is RET, or the Retractable Equipment Tether, which is one of the most commonly used equipment tethers during spacewalks.
And Mike, this will be the adjustable off of my wrist.
All right, we copy that, Drew.
Getting a view now from helmet camera 11, which is that of EV1, Nick Hague's.
That is correct, 1406.
Mike, I've got an adjustable from handrail 1614 up to, in series 2 of them, up to the tether point on the IDA. It is, slack is removed, but is not cinched.
Okay, we copy that for EV1, and we'll take a glove and hap check from you.
Okay.
Mike, the adjustables on the, I don't know, in WVS, if you'd like more slack out than this. 1402 to 1406.
Okay, stand by. And for EV2, we're looking at your WVS view. We'd like to move the adjustable attachment on the IDA from the handrail to the right to the tether point.
Roger.
You'll hear frequent calls from the Capcom to the crew for glove checks and hap checks. Just for background, HAP is the acronym for the Helmet Absorption Pad, which was installed in all spacewalking helmets in the wake of a water intrusion in the helmet of European Space Agency astronaut Luca Parmitano in 2014.
Adjustable tether done. We'll take a glove and hap check from him. We'll pause a moment.
So the installation of the Helmet Absorption Pad, or HAP by the acronym, is intended to absorb the water in the case that it has migrated to the back of a crew member's head.
And there's more slack in it now. Would you like to take some of that slack out?
And yes, please, get all the slack out you can.
Mike, you good with me putting down the pre-stage wire ties on 1614, 1615?
And you have a go for that, Nick. It's a great idea. And for EV2,
adjustable's in place and the slack is up.
we see it and it looks great, and we'll take a glove and hap check from you.
Okay, so the right glove, that flap remains, but still intact underneath. And I don't know how much inspection underneath that you want me to make. Potential for making it worse.
And not required right now, Drew. Okay, for both, go ahead, EV2.
Thumb panel on the left glove, not at the tip, but the first segment in from the tip of the finger, RTV flap panel. Still attached, it's just elevated on the one side. So I'm tracking, that's a different place? It's on the left glove. The other one was on the right? Correct. Copy.
Okay, we copy. The team is talking, but seems satisfied with that. We're still good to go, but again, we'll keep a close watch on it, and we'll take a hap check from you, Drew.
Okay, copy. Hap is dry.
Okay, we copy that, and we'll just pause for a moment. One warning, a couple of warnings actually. The unmated and
From the helmet cam views, you'll be able to see the mirrors that are on the wrist of the gloves of the spacewalkers. These mirrors allow them to see the switches and actuators on the front of the suit that would ordinarily be out of their view without the mirrors, so the labeling is written in mirror image because it's intended to be read from the mirrors on their wrist.
Cable bend radii less than 6 inches, and the omnipresent warning, avoid putting loads into IDA3, especially in the zenith direction, including during the connector ops.
One copy's all. 82 copies.
Okay, with that, Nick, you can complete your wire tie pre-stage, and for Drew, we'll have you translate to the aft starboard side of node 2. You translate first port and then aft, and you'll be heading to your first cable retrieval. That'll be on handrail 338. That'll be just above the grapple fixture down there.
Okay, copy that, Mike. Mike, these wire ties, I've got a long wire tie on handrail 1614. I've got a short wire tie on handrail 1615. It's on the nadir stanchion on both of those.
Okay, that sounds great. Your next step then would be to ingress the APFR using the ingress aid, and again, avoid the handrails on the IDA.
Okay. Work. Ooh. We're going. Yeah, not too bad. I have to adjust my thermal setting. I thought it was going to be a little too cold for the night pass, but it's just right, so it's going to get warm during day. Feeling good is my current setting.
And along with feeling good, you guys are right on the timeline, by the way.
Spacewalk communicator Mike Barrett reporting that the crew is right on the timeline for the procedures today. And if you're just tuning in, we're now about 1 hour into today's spacewalk. The two spacewalkers today, Nick Hague in his third spacewalk and Andrew Morgan conducting his career first spacewalk today to install the International Docking Adapter 3 to Pressurized Mating Adapter 3, where you see them now.
Those on the cap keeper. And Drew, again, you're looking for handrail 338. You'll find a bundled wire. 2288 is the cable, but you'll be looking for P206, Papa 206 as the connector.
Copy, I see handrail 0338, bundle cable with the 2288.
Okay, very good. And we'll let you work with that. You'll take the connectors 206 and P1 and route up towards the aft IDA. Be mindful of EV1's safety tether here.
Copy that.
And just a reminder to push all the slack up forward towards the panel that you can.
Copy that. And Mike, I've got caps, I guess the plugs off of J6 and J5. Get the pins inside, I don't see any FOD, and the pins look good.
All right, we copy. Your next step then is to install the first jumper. That'll be 2266. You can retrieve that from the cap keeper.
Understand, 2266.
And for EV2, we'd like you to release the wire tie on the handrail, not the one necessarily in your hand there on the connector. You can free it up first from the handrail.
Right.
That'll just keep it as trim as possible while you're trying to route it up there.
To make this a little more manageable, I'm going to take the cap off of the other end of 2266.
All right, we copy, Nick.
A little over an hour into the spacewalk today, and the crew is now at the point in the timeline where they'll be attaching retractable equipment tethers to handrails on PMA 3 and IDA 3.
And for Nick, just a reminder, you'll be connecting from the jumper P6A to the IDA J6 connector.
Hey, Uber. Pins no FOD, there was a good EMI band. I am mated over center on J6.
Okay, we copy that, and it'll be your next jumper. As your next step, you can remove 2268 from the cap keeper.
Work. J5, no FOD, good email bands, good pins.
We copy, Nick.
Mated over center.
Those retractable equipment tethers, or RETs by the acronym, are being used to hold varying equipment in place while the crews work through spacewalk procedures.
Take a minute and adjust my cooling.
All right, your next step will be to retrieve that green weight cable from Drew, so you take whatever minutes you need. Go ahead, Drew.
I'd say I'll just want to pause here and I'll get this all the coil released here.
Okay, we copy, Drew. And Drew, we recommend keeping that last twist in just so you don't have too much of a loose cable on the way up.
Copy. And I think we were expecting an integrated that might line up with 345, handrail 345.
And that's correct. If it lines up to handrail 345, please tack it down there. And Drew, if it doesn't line up quite right, don't worry about that. Just push the slack as far towards the panel as you can, but we'll take one on 345 if it works.
It looks like it's going to line up, and I see the label that says that it was intended for this. And I'm just make sure that I want all the slack forward.
All right, we copy in for both about 1 minute to daylight.
Understand. Thank you. And the direction then we expect it to go relative to the pedal, Mike. I'm going to go forward. Or you might be able to hand me the end of it.
Yes, forward and aft of the CBM pedal is good.
Forward and, if you say our choice, forward or aft, or?
We'd like aft of the pedal if we could.
Aft of the pedal, copy.
And Nick, could you let us know if you can reach handrail 1615 from the APFR?
Yeah, I should be able to reach something that's timstood there. You can get 1614 as well, and I'm actually holding the end of the cable in my hand. Drew was able to pass it to me.
Okay, great news. Then we won't need Nick to secure it to 1615.
And Nick, you want give me a little slack so I can get it. Yes, I'm unrolling it a little bit. Okay. Okay, so this guy's got to make it all the way up on its own without the jumper. So that's as much slack as we can give. Can you go around? Can you go around the start end of that pedal? Like this end? Yeah, and then it'll come straight up toward me. Perfect. Okay, and then I can pull the slack towards 1615 and tie it down.
And Drew, as we're looking, it looks like there's a bit of slack towards your feet there as well. We'll need to get as much slack forward towards the PMA as we can on this cable.
This pre-integrated may not be a great idea then.
Yeah, and that's fine. If that doesn't work, we'll forgo it.
Like the one that has to go to, looking for a label here. So J6, I can confirm I've got enough reach to go directly to J6 without the jumper. And then I've got almost enough slack to make it all the way to J7 with the other pigtail of P1. I think we've got enough slack all the way up here. Okay.
Okay, we copy that, and we don't need Drew to backtrack his steps too much, just to pull as much slack up there as he can.
Understand. Why'd you use that integrated, Drew? Use it? Yeah. Okay.
Nick Hague, bearing the red stripes as EV1 today at the top of your screen, is working from the foot restraint, while EV2, Andrew Morgan, performs the routing of cables. The first two cables that are connected will supply the ready-to-hook sensor data that will provide the confirmation that there is a hard mate between PMA3 and IDA3.
Wherever you want to feed my way, I'll pull up. Here we go.
Again, the cables being routed now will supply the ready-to-hook sensor data that will provide the confirmation that there is a hard mate between PMA3 and IDA3 once the gangs of hooks are driven here in a little while.
Understand. The only place that this comes away from structure, Mike, is the stuff that was routed before the EVA. From where Drew pulled it, we've got it pretty much flush to the surface of the Node 2 and PMA3.
Okay, we copy that. We can leave it for now, and once we get all done with the cables, then we can do a little bit cleanup if necessary.
Okay, understand. Okay, and then Mike, any more work then here on the green-white?
I think for now, you're good with that one. We're going to send you on to the next cable. And that will be the orange-white. That'll be the Node 2 aft port handrail 343.
Copy.
And for Nick, once you have that green-white cable secured to your liking, we can go ahead and make that connection. You'll remove the cap from P206 and stow that on the cap keeper, and that will go to jumper 6A.
In work. I have 6A in hand. I've got P206 in hand. Pins, 05, DMI band.
Okay, we copy.
Needed over center.
Okay, we copy. And how difficult was that, or was that as easy as you made it look?
I'm not going to say anything yet. We've got a few more of these to do.
All right, we copy. There was a lot of excitement with the first one.
Okay, Mike, I'm at 343, and you see two cables here.
All right, Drew, you're looking for
some labels.
You're looking for a connector Papa 205. That'll be on cable Whiskey 2260.
Okay, I have 2260 in my hand, Papa 205.
And just a note, Drew, you will be back to the same handrail for that very next cable once you get this routed.
Now, Mike, there was a pre-stage or some wire ties we were going to do on 8 and 3, 8, 4, or 8 and 14.
And that's correct. And we're thinking you might be able to do that once you get this handed off to Nick.
Okay.
A view now from Nick Hague's helmet cam, camera number 11, as he's taking pictures of the cable that he just routed.
And for Nick, just as you're routing the cable, we'll take a short wire tie on node 2 handrail 344 for that Papa 205 cable that you have with you right now. We'd like you to go for the stanchions if possible and try to keep the handrail itself clear. And once you have that one,
back here in Mission Control Houston, the flight control team is under the direction of lead flight director Scott Stover. And the ground intervehicular communicator, or ground IV today, is Mike Barrett. You've heard his voice back and forth with the crew conducting the spacewalk today, and you'll continue to hear his voice through the duration of the spacewalk as he continues to move through those procedures with the crew.
We'd like you to take the first securing on handrail 344 for the cable you're working. And I'm not sure how much it got out there, but try to go for the stanchions on those handrails to leave the handrail proper clear. And once we get that wire tied, then we'll have you routed directly and hand off to Nick, and we'll get the wire ties on the way back.
Okay, so the first one for the orange-white cable to 344.
That's a good copy, and that'll let you get the cable under the aft port CBM pedal.
Copy.
A mess down there.
Yeah.
I'd offer to come down and help, but I don't think me getting in that is going to help.
Not a lot of room.
No. Going steady, you're making good progress. Those cables look nice and flat behind you.
344 to a stanchion. We can go up around the pedal.
And Drew, we see you working. Just a reminder to both, this is our first full installation with you out there. Remember that the PMA surfaces can get pretty warm, so avoid prolonged direct contact.
Copy that. Copy, Mike.
And station for EVA for Nick. While you're there in the APFR, we'd like you to take as good a look as you can at the IDA PMA3 interface and just verify that there's no undue gap there and that it seems to be evenly seated.
Okay, in work.
And just for both of you, we do have 2 RTH indications already.
That's great news. Mike, I can see down the interface, good solid 120 degrees or more, definitely less than a half inch.
Okay, we copy. Good to hear.
RTH, the acronym for Ready to Hook, which these cables that are being routed right now will provide heater power and ready-to-hook sensor capability, and the hook motor power that will be used to drive the gangs of hooks closed.
Established on 343. I'm sorry, 344. You can route directly to Nick.
Copy. Directly to Nick after that 344, and we're going forward on this pedal.
That's correct. Under the it's the aft port pedal and forward on it. That's correct.
Mike, the team was correct. This is a hot work area. I had to bump up my cooling by 1 notch.
Okay, we understand.
make sure that it's the P205 connector on this one, correct, Mike?
That's affirmative. Papa 205.
There's a twist in the cables just below your left elbow.
Yeah.
And you're pulling up on one that's tied down in a different location. Yep. Is that around your arm?
Yeah, it's on my arm.
Oh, okay.
Now, right at an hour and a half into today's spacewalk, the two spacewalkers today, Nick Hague in his third spacewalk and Andrew Morgan conducting his career first spacewalk today to install the International Docking Adapter 3 to Pressurized Mating Adapter 3, providing a second port for the future arrival of commercial crew vehicles. You can see Nick Hague EV1 bearing the red stripes on his suit on the IDA-3 right now, routing some cables.
And the heck out of any workstation and effector.
Yeah.
And station for EVA.
Different forces on you.
And for Nick, since you've got a little wait time here, we'd like you to come out of the APFR and pre-stage a wire tie on handrail 1608. It'll be just zenith of Drew port F face of the PMA.
Understand.
Again, APFR, the acronym for Articulating Portable Foot Restraint, which is hooked up to an interface point on the Harmony module at the work site, where the spacewalkers will plant their feet for stability as they continue to move through these procedures today.
All right, I see you right there. To move this orange-white cable.
Copy.
And for Nick, once you get to the handrail 1608, we'll take a wire tie on the forward port stanchion. And once you get that in place, if you're able to get the handoff of the cable from Drew, we'll let you take that up and re-ingress the APFR.
Sounds good. Did you want that to be a long or a short?
And a short will do for that one.
It works. A breather for a minute here. I'll put this wire tie down, then I'll take the cable from you. Okay, Mike, I've got a wire tie down on the forward port stanchion of handrail 1608.
Okay, we see it, looks good, and we see the cable passing hands.
Is it red on it? Let me clean it up.
Go ahead and take that. with you here to try to get this out.
And while you're both out of the APFRs, just verify both your safety tethers are clear of the cables that we're dragging here.
Mine is clear. It's to my feet, away from the cable we're dragging, and I can see Drew's going away as well. We're good. Check though.
Copy, thanks.
Is that taut? So we're at the Y, so that's it.
This is the Y, yeah.
Yeah, so that's as much as the pole.
Yeah, I think so. And so, Mike, we're expecting a Y then in this cable that's just beyond the 344 handrail that I connected down to. Go to this side of the pedal.
Then down on handrail 3, 3814.
Okay, the Y is expected. It looks like you guys have it well in hand. And just a reminder, we want all the slack pushed up towards the IDA 3 that we can.
Copy. Is that all the slack?
That is all the slack because
that's good. It's taut against structure.
I can keep working it down here.
All right, that's looking good to us. And when you get that handover complete, Drew, you are going to retranslate back to handrail 343, the same place you got the last cable, and start bringing the next cable forward. That'll be Whiskey 2258.
So 2258, that's the purple one, I think.
That's correct. And you'll be looking for Papa 207 as the connector.
207.
The International Space Station is currently flying 260 statute miles above the Atlantic Ocean as the spacewalkers continue to move through with the procedures today.
Mike, I've got that tied down on 1408 and 1614. 1608 and 1614.
Okay, we copy. That's great. And just for Drew, you'll be routing this next cable along the exact same route.
Copy.
Okay, I see the cable connector P207.
Okay, that's the one.
I'm back in the APFR, Mike.
All right, we copy, Nick. Then with that, again, just take another look at your safety tethers before we make the connection, but you can pull the cap off of 205 and stow that on the gap keeper.
Copy. And work. Safety tethers are clear. I can see both.
Copy and thanks. And Papa 205, Nick, will attach to the jumper 5A, whenever you're ready.
EMI band, get pins, no FOD, get J5A, pop it 05. Okay. Made it over center.
Okay, we see that made it over center. Great work. And for Drew, just a reminder, only uncoil what you need to make the routing. You'll be headed first to handrail 344 to get onto the short wire ties, the same as the last cable.
And the second cable has now been routed, as we just saw from Nick Hague, as EV1's helmet camera number 11.
Mike, I'm bundling these just a little bit for a temp stow so that it's easier to translate around all these cables.
Okay, good words. And just a reminder, Nick, that orange-white cable you just made.
Some background on the cables being routed during the EVA today. These cables were brought outside on a previous EVA almost 5 years ago. They've baked in the sun during that time, so the cables were expected to be difficult to manipulate and route. That is why the Capcom here is asking them to be a little bit careful when coiling them.
We can go the length, and then I can come back and tack them down behind him.
Okay, that works for us, Drew. And Nick, it sounds like you have a good handle on 1608 and 1614 handrails to secure it. Drew, we'll have you go back once you hand that cable over and attach to 1603, handrail 1603.
Copy.
And you can feel the surfaceless PMA heating out.
Yep. And
okay.
Okay.
Slack here. Long.
Okay. Do you want to take it the full length, and I'll come behind you?
Sure. Got it. Need a twist, I'll hold it in place.
Yeah.
Oh, you're buddy. This one in.
That's 8, and then
14.
if we need one at 3.
There's 14.
Much slack left over?
Oh, tons.
Tons, okay.
Yeah. Tying myself up on all these cables.
Mike, we have not put a wire tie down on 1603 yet.
Yeah.
I'd like us to do that. It's right. Okay.
You need slack to make that happen?
And yes, we would like the wire tie on 1603 for both of the cables you just routed past there. If you can use the integrated on there, that works for us. And we would prefer the aft stanchion on 1603, but whatever works best for you.
Okay, I got it at the aft stanchion. There's the pre-integrated here belongs to another cable. I don't want to pull that into the mix.
Okay, we understand, Drew. We would like all the cables as flush as possible, the ones we're routing and the ones that are already there. Your discretion whether you can use an integrated or have to put down one of your own. And for Nick, just a reminder that the purple cable will be temp stowed at handrail 1614 or 1615 at your discretion.
Copy. I'm putting it down at 1614.
Okay, we understand.
Okay, purple cable is temp stowed on the handrail of 1614.
Okay, we copy. Stand by. Just big picture words, once we get the cables tacked down here, this will complete the aft initial install, the aft panel initial install, and it will be going to the forward cable install. And for Drew, once you're finished tacking down the wires, we'll have you do a good gap check, look at the PMA IDA3 interface as you go around towards your APFR.
Copy. You want me to translate to the forward side and start looking for cables?
And Nick, you are indeed go for that. You'll be looking for a TA clamp Charlie 5 and to pre-stage a short wire tie on that. That's right on the forward face, just to the port of your ORU bag.
Okay, copy. Can work. I gotta say, Mike, it is one amazing view looking off the front of the station.
Yeah, you guys are over Africa there. It must be amazing. And Nick, we're going to add one other thing. As you translate past the ORU bag, if you could grab the forward panel cap keeper and deploy that up on the IDA handrail. And that's IDA handrail. Okay, and that's 1406 up on the IDA.
1406.
Okay, we got it wire tied on 3 and 8, and I'll translate to the forward side.
All right, well done. And I know those wires are stiff and difficult to handle, but it looks like you got them under control. And just a reminder to give us a good gap check at the IDA PMA3 interface.
Copy.
Mike, the capkeeper adjustable is on 1406, and the red still goes back to the large ORU bag.
Okay, we see that, Nick. It looks great, and you'll be dropping down to put the wire tie on TA clamp Charlie 5.
Okay. And the gap check on this side, Mike, looks very consistent, and it is less than half an inch.
All right, we copy that. That's great. And Nick, you can, or I'm sorry, Drew, you can come around and get in a position to ingress the APFR. Just a reminder, use the ingress aid, avoid those tempting handrails on the IDA, and we are getting a little bit of toggling with the RTHs. That's probably due to translation, but we're just going to be very careful with that interface.
Copy that.
Now, right at an hour and 50 minutes into today's spacewalk, ground controllers here in Mission Control Houston are reporting that the spacewalkers today are right on the timeline, having completed the initial connection of critical cables.
And for both, 30 seconds to a short handover.
Nick Hague and Andrew Morgan will now move to the forward panel. Andrew Morgan will ingress the foot restraint while Nick Hague routes the cables this time.
How you doing?
All right, just getting this centered here.
Slow and steady. Get her done.
The two cables that will be routed next will provide power and data to the hooks that will drive between PMA-3 and IDA-3 to form a hard mate. Here in Mission Control Houston, the flight control team is under the direction of lead flight director Scott Stover in the middle of your screen.
And Station Houston back with you after a short handover. And just for Nick, the next step, once you get the wire tie on the TA clamp, will be to retrieve a cable from handrail 326. That'll be one of the spoke handrails, a little bit port of where you are right now, down on the end cone.
And that was, of course, the voice of intervehicular communicator or ground IV today, Mike Barrett. You'll continue to hear his voice as the crews make their way through the procedures, and you'll continue to hear his voice all the way through the end of the spacewalk today.
Okay, we see that and concur with the long tie, no issues. And Nick, you'll be looking for the blue cable. That'll be a connector Papa 203 down there on handrail 326.
Copy.
And a reminder, that is a two-legged cable. 203 is what you're looking for. 208 will eventually be routed to the aft panel.
Okay, I've got 203 in hand.
Okay, And if it's helpful, that's Whiskey 2256, but it looks like you've got the right one, and you'll be routing that under the forward port CBM pedal and securing that with the wire tie you just put on Charlie 5.
Understand and work.
Mike in the APFR. I've got good access to the work site.
Okay, great work, Drew. With that, you can demate the caps from J300 and J400 and stow those on the cap keeper.
We're getting a view now from helmet camera number 18, which is that of Andrew Morgan's. This is the connector port you're looking at on the side of the international docking adapter that will receive a series of power and data connectors a short time from now. Those connectors are required before the hooks are commanded to be driven, which will then form the hard mate between IDA and PMA. Furthermore, these initial power and data connectors to the connector port on the IDA that you're looking at right now will provide hook motor power, the ready-to-hook sensors and heaters for the new docking port.
We see it.
Removed.
Okay, great. And for you, Drew, you'll be receiving the blue cable from Nick. And again, we'll want a good eye on the safety tethers, make sure they're not trapped before we mate this connector.
Copy that.
Some more coming up your way.
Over my left shoulder. Yeah, I have it in my hand.
That's as tight as I can get it. Does that give you enough slack?
Plenty.
Okay.
And
Mike, I've got P203 in my hand.
okay, we copy. For Nick, before you go too far, if you're able to tuck that cable under the CBM pedal there a little better, that would help us get it tacked down a little better. And for Drew, you go to uncap P203, stow that cap on the cap keeper, and that will be mating to J300.
Copy.
And we like your routing, Nick.
A view now from helmet camera number 11, which is that of Nick Hague's, or EV1.
And that's the one.
He is routing cables right now to Andrew Morgan.
Understand.
Okay, the cap from 203 is removed.
Okay, we'll take a connector check prior to mating.
Okay, and so I'm checking the J300 side, 5 good pins, and I'm looking on the plug side, the FOD, VMI band. Right.
Okay, we like it. Your
Good to go, Mike.
go to mate to J300. And again, try to minimize the loads into the IDA if you can.
Now reaching the 2-hour mark into today's spacewalk. The spacewalk officially began at 7:27 a.m. Central Time this morning. Nick Hague and Andrew Morgan still working on track with the timeline, having completed the initial connection of critical cables to a connector panel.
And Nick, just a reminder, your close proximity to the grapple fixture there. We put you in an inconvenient place.
Yep. 90 minutes there.
Now in switched roles, the crew members are working on the forward panel. Andrew Morgan now in the foot restraint while Nick Hague routes the cables to him.
Mike, J300 made it over center.
Okay, we saw it. It looks great. And your next step will be to retrieve the red and white cable from Nick, and that should be Papa 204.
Copy, I got Papa 204.
Mike, I'm staring at handrail 1602. I think we put a long wire tie on that later on. You want me to knock that out now?
And sure, you can go ahead and do that. A long wire tied to handrail 1602. Zenith stanchion, please.
Okay.
A view now from Andrew Morgan's helmet camera. Again, he is helmet camera number 18. He and Nick Hague are working to install 2 cables that'll provide power and data to the hooks that will drive between PMA-3 and IDA-3. You can see on the control panel on the right side of your screen that one of those cables has already been routed. Morgan and Hague are now working to route the second cable to the control panel.
Okay, no FOD on the plug side. On the J400 side, no bent pins. No FOD.
Okay, if the AMI band looks good, you go to mate that to J400.
Copy that. I can confirm the EMI band looks good.
Okay, great. Your go to connect, and for Nick, you're doing such a great job laying the wire ties. We'll take one on PMA-3 handrail 1601 as well. That's the big vertical handrail there, and we'll take that on the nadir stanchion.
Nadir stanchion, I understand.
Mike, J400 made it over center.
Okay, terrific. And just for next steps, guys, for Nick, once you get the wire tie done, and for Drew, we'll have you take one more look at that interface. But we are about to start quiescent ops and the hook driving. So once you get that wire tie laid, Nick, you can go to a place that you can stick around for a while.
Another view of the control panel on the right side of your screen right now, where 2 cables have been routed.
One onto the Zenith expansion of 1602, and then I'll bug out.
Okay, sounds great.
Again, the 2 cables you see right now will provide power and data to the hooks that will drive between PMA-3 and IDA-3 moments from now.
Come back. I got it. All right. Zenith expansion of 1602. We have a handrail. We have the wire ties in place.
Okay, we copy that. And just to clarify, was that both 1601 and 1602 got their wire ties?
Negative, Mike. I didn't get the 1601 yet. 1602, Mike.
Okay, we'll hold off on 1601, and we'll have both of you get to a good quiescent place, and we'll start driving the hooks.
I've got a VRT down, and I'm staying in the APFR.
Okay, we see that for both, and just a reminder that both need to remain quiescent while the first gang of hooks is completely driven, and you can do a glove and hap check as you like and take all the photos you can.
Good.
And just for planning, you're about 3.5 minutes to a night pass.
Everything is in place now to begin the driving of the hooks that will permanently mate the International Docking Adapter 3 to PMA-3. Again, the installation of IDA-3 today will provide a second docking port to the International Space Station to accommodate the future arrivals of commercial crew vehicles.
One more to go. So, Mike, my map is dry, and looking at that flap on my right index finger, and it's still there, still present.
Okay, we copy dry.
Got I have a flap on the and I have a flap on the right thumb panel and on the left thumb panel. And on the left index finger second panel in. They're just flaps.
Okay, we copy, Drew. And again, we're still good to go on that. We're watching closely. Could you give us a real quick gap check, just what you can see of the interface between the IDA and PMA?
Looks like a half inch all around where I can see it from here. Exactly like it was on the port side when I was translating over here.
Okay, we copy and thanks. And Nick, we'll take a glove and hap check from you when possible.
Yep, I checked. Gloves are good. No change. Hap's dry.
Okay, we copy. Good glove and hap check. And we're going quiescent now.
And the crew has now gone quiescent for the driving of the hooks. Getting a view now of the control panel inside the Harmony module of the International Space Station. This is the same view that NASA astronaut Christina Cook is getting.
Houston copies.
Houston Station on space to ground 1, closing hooks gang 1 in the 3, 2, 1, mark.
And the command has been issued for the first gang of hooks to close. Again, Christina Cook just sent commands from a control panel inside the Harmony module to begin driving the first gang of hooks. There are 6 hooks for each gang, totaling 12 hooks altogether. Structural integrity is considered sound if both of the hook gangs are closed and engaged for visiting vehicles to begin arriving at the International Space Station.
To the sunset.
The first gang of hooks now driving as the crew members remain quiescent outside of the IDA. And for reference, the expected execution time for this gang of hooks to close is expected to be about 5.5 minutes.
How's your cooling going? I haven't touched it. It's in a good place.
Nice. Get that set bearing insulation, everything's working out fine now, so I found my sweet spot. more. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder the connectors that are on the ground. They're on the two connectors right over my shoulder. Yeah. The bundle that's right next to them. I think that's your cable. One that's nicely bundled. Yeah. It's the green cables that we're looking for.
And if you're just joining us, we just reached the 2-hour and 15-minute mark in today's spacewalk. Currently, the two spacewalkers are quiescent outside of the PMA and IDA, while the first gang of hooks are driven.
Round 1, hooks gang 1 closed light and multimeter reading registered within 10 seconds of each other. Timer result for the first indicator was 4 minutes and 28 seconds. The all closed indicator is lit. Moving to hooks gang 2, EV is go for translation on PMA, but not IDA.
And we just received confirmation from NASA astronaut Christina Cook at the commands of the control panel inside the Harmony module that the first gang of hooks are closed. Getting a live view now of that control panel inside of Harmony. This is the same view that NASA astronaut Christina Cook is getting right now, and the same one she got before she sent those commands.
And Station Houston for EVA, with good hook driving, we would like Nick to go ahead and deploy the portable wireless camera. So you are go to translate over to the ORU bag, and the camera should be powered on. We would just be looking for LEDs. And Nick, while you're in transit, I have to tell you that 3 lovely ladies have come in, one of which claims to be your mother and has made delicious food for everybody.
I heard she was busy in the kitchen yesterday. I hope everyone enjoys it. I'm jealous.
Well, we have a certain jealousy of what you guys are doing as well, so I'd say it's an even trade.
Okay. I can confirm I've got a good LED on the portable wireless camera, Mike.
Okay, that sounds great, and that will go down onto the PMA-3, and we're looking